Hi, good morning. My name is Richard Hardiman. I'm the founder and one of the founders and CEO of RanMarine Technology. RanMarine Technology is basically a company that develops ASVs, autonomous surface vessels, autonomous shipping in very small scales, and our particular focus is environmental awareness and technology around that. We are based in the Netherlands, in Rotterdam. I'm from Cape Town, South Africa myself, which is pretty much where our story begins. I'd like to chat to you about the process that we've come through from a for-profit environmental company and how we deal with the plastic situation in the ocean and before it gets to the ocean. So I was sitting in Cape Town, South Africa, which is not too dissimilar from where we are right now, a very similar climate, a very similar coastal city. And I was watching two men in a boat try and clean up some plastic in our port. As I was watching them, the wind was blowing, the tide was going out, and the plastic itself was going out into the ocean through the harbour walls. And I thought to myself, this is a very inefficient process in order to be collecting plastic. And at the time, this was about 5 or 6 years ago, I wasn't too aware of the plastic devastation that was happening in the oceans. My mother is an artist and my father is an engineer, so I have a very creative side and also have a very methodical side, and I sit somewhere in between. And I started doing some research into how better to collect plastic out of water, not purely because of the environmental damage, but because of the perceived inefficiency in the process that was happening. And my research led me to believe that these two guys in a boat with one net were not going to solve the problem. 80% of the plastics that arrive in the ocean eventually come from rivers, from canals, from ports, harbors, marinas. 20% of it coming off, or believed to be coming off ships out in the ocean. So 80% of the problem actually starts where man meets water. In typical cities like this or in Cape Town, where we have a lot of port industry, where we have a lot of water and near water use. This is a picture from Rio. Just before the Olympics, for those of you who followed the Olympics a few years back, Rio had a particular problem in their bay of a lot of trash in the water and an inability to solve it. And what we thought was, as a company, how do we use technology in the modern era to solve what essentially is a modern problem? Although research dates back to the 50s and 60s of the last century, plastic has become a very modern problem. We're still trying to solve it with very outdated modes. And as a technology company, we wanted to find a way to reduce the plastic that was going into the ocean. So we see ourselves as a at-source company. So we stop the plastic before it gets into the ocean. We can't clean up what's already out there, but we'd like to reduce the amount of plastic and dangerous debris that's going into the ocean. So what do you do when your world is being consumed by plastic and poisoned by plastic? We looked at technology. This is Wally. For those of you who don't know Wally, Wally was a star of a Disney movie a few years ago, and he was a trash collector, a robot that simply went around and collected trash. While all the humans left Earth, because it was too polluted, this guy was left behind to clean up the mess that we'd made. So we decided to build a Wally of the seas, a robot of the ocean. And this is what we came up with. It is the Waste Shark. It is an autonomous vessel, although it can be controlled either by an operator with a remote control. It can also be set to do its job by GPS location and tracking. It's not very big. This picture doesn't really give a clear example of it, but it's just slightly larger than a small child. This is one of our projects that we have going in Africa at the moment. It's the size of an average coffee table. It is able to consume about 200 liters of trash at any one time. By volume. It then comes back to the shore, empties itself out, and it goes back out again. In extreme cases like the picture that you saw in Rio there, we would have 4 or 5 of those in that particular area consuming the trash. So depending on the problem, depending on the debris, and the amount of trash in the water at the time might require a few more waste sharks. I'd like to show you a very quick video of our facilities and how we came about. So I was sitting in Cape Town and I was having a cup of coffee on the quayside, and I saw two men coming along in a boat. I watched them head for a patch of garbage and they started scooping the trash out. Initially, I thought this was the way we did in Africa, so I thought, okay, well, maybe around the world there are first world solutions to this problem. And I discovered that this is how New York, Los Angeles, Sydney, they do it the same way. And that disturbed me because anywhere where man meets water, there's plastic. And it's a modern problem. Plastic and water is a very modern problem, and we're trying to solve it with a very outdated solution. So I focused on what would be a better way of collecting the trash out of water. And that's how it began. The waste shark is intended to be an efficient way of collecting plastic out of water, specifically in rivers and ports and marinas. But it also measures the quality of the water. So at the same time that we're harvesting waste, we're harvesting data from the water as well. Typically we measure the depth of the water, the salinity, the turbidity of the water, the chemical makeup, the pH balance. So we're able to relay not only the fact that we're catching plastic out there and defending the oceans, but we're also giving them real quality data of what's actually in their water. There's been research done several times over the last couple of years showing the amount of plastic and chemicals that are ending up in our bloodstream. So the damage is now. I want to save it for my kids, and I want my kids to have a great life, and I want their kids to have a great life. But if we don't stop it now, you and I are not going to have a great life. It's happening that quickly. I say to my partners all the time, they keep telling me not to say it, but if it happens, that's great. We go out of business and we'll do something else, because what we aim to set out and achieve should technically put us out of business. That would be the holy grail, right? That would be the complete circle. So the big take out there, and my shareholders do hate me saying it, but the idea is that if we did our job well enough, we should essentially put ourselves out of business. Unfortunately, I find that humankind is not very good at disposing of their waste. We're very pro-plastic as a company. We use a lot of plastic in our machinery, so we have to like plastic. But it's the wrong types of plastic that are ending up in our oceans. It's the straws, it's the cups, it's the plastic waste, plastic bags. Those single-use products are doing more damage to our environment than anything else. And I think if we remove those, and I applaud David for coming up with new ideas for packaging, because we've got to take those weapons away from the human race. You know, the more we give somebody a cup or a polystyrene takeaway packet or a plastic bag to carry, the more plastic we introduce into our environment. So by taking that away and replacing it with more sustainable packaging is one way to go. But there is a lot of plastic. We try and do our best as part of the solution. We don't believe that we're the full solution. We wanted to create a tool that was more efficient than current solutions. So we didn't want to create something that was marketable and exciting for PR companies or marketing companies. We wanted to create a tool that harbors could use, marinas could use, that was cheaper and more efficient than current processes. And I believe we have done that with the waste shark. But what happens when you're putting something in the water and you realize you're using technology to do one thing, but you could be doing something else as well? And our long-term approach is data. I had a long, with the keynote speech, from Kevin Ashton yesterday, talking about the IoT, the Internet of Things. We're very big into using data on our craft to not only harvest plastic, but to harvest data as well, because data gives us information and gives us ideas and gives us the ability to change the way that we're doing things. So each waste shark that goes out at the moment has the ability to be equipped with up to 200 different environmental sensors, from turbidity sensors, heavy metal sensors, temperature, chemical balance, and that kind of thing. All that feedback we can take back into the cloud and analyze for our clients. We don't operate and service the waste sharks ourselves. We sell the waste sharks. We're currently in India, in Dubai, South Africa, the Netherlands, Brussels, Germany, the USA. We sell the equipment to our customers, but then we also provide them with the ability to take data out of their environment. So a port like Baltimore, for instance, is now able to extract what exactly is in their water, what that water health quality looks like, what is the DNA of that water. I envisage in 5 years' time that we have enough of these waste sharks, as we bring the costs down, to have an umbrella or a mesh around the world of instant real-time data from water. Anytime that we want to look in the water in Korea, let's say, or maybe the Netherlands, we can extract that data very quickly and see what's going on. Long term, I think that's going to benefit us from an environmental sense. We deal a lot with smart cities around the world, Dubai being one of them. People who want to interconnect what the city is doing with the environment, to understand what's going on not only in the city itself, but in the urban areas, urban waters, what's going on with that water quality. So we're doing a lot of work with smart cities around the world to try and give them more information about what this city looks like, particularly from a data perspective. There's a lot of great products out there. As I say, we don't see ourselves as a single solution. We see ourselves as part of the solution to stopping trash going up. One of our favorites is Seabin, which is an Australian company. Seabin is a static installation, mainly for ports and marinas. As you can see, it's set just below the water. It's probably not the best picture, but it's set just below the water line, so it creates a water flow. The pump takes in the stuff. The guys come and empty it out all day long. And that's a great start to capturing incidental marine litter. On a larger scale, and we do a lot of business with these guys, KCI and Clearwater Mills, this is called the Mr. Trash Wheel. There's 3 of them now, predominantly in Baltimore. And the idea is this, again, is a static installation. It's a boomed-off area that collects water and trash from incoming rivers before it gets into the port itself. They've done a really good job of personalizing Mr. Trash Wheel, so they've put big googly eyes on the children, love it from an education point of view, it's fantastic. But more importantly, in high rainy seasons in Baltimore, this picks up tons and tons and tons of trash. As the water comes down from the river, it goes into this boomed off area, the conveyor belt goes, and all that rubbish gets collected into large containers. They collect up to 7 tons, 8 tons a day sometimes of plastic waste and debris. So really it's a phenomenal achievement. Also connected to the Internet of Things as well. When we were in Baltimore recently, the guy was showing me how he built it, but then on the other side of the river, he took out his app and his phone, and he clicked the button, and the wheels started turning, and Mr. Trash Wheel came to life. So it was quite an impressive thing to see. We see ourselves as part of that solution. So in the background here is a skimmer boat. Skimmer boats are these large vessels that go around ports and collect up incidental trash. Very useful in flood situations, very costly outside of that. So I think Dubai has about 7 or 8 of these, each one costing $500,000 to $600,000. Our units retail from around $15,000, and that decreases quite substantially as we go into a higher production mode. These skimmer boats can't get into small areas where a lot of the trash and incidental trash collects. Our system can. We're mobile, so we're able to get across rivers very quickly. In India in particular at the moment, we're doing a lot of work in the Ganges, which is an interesting place to work. India is very big on cleaning up its trash at the moment. Unfortunately, you have to educate an entire society about the problems of trash in water, which is often more difficult than actually collecting it. But I believe we're making great strides there at the moment. These are my details. I don't have a business card, so if you want to take a picture of it and connect me, it's probably a lot easier. But Waste Shark is now coming around the world. I look forward to talking with the port here in Busan and finding out more about their situation and hopefully introducing our products into Korea very, very soon. Thank you for listening, and if you have any questions later, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.